I don't care if you've been keeping fish for 20 years or if you just started in this hobby and you set up your first tank and got it all cycled and ready to go. Buying fish is the best part of this hobby. But I don't want you to run out to the fish store and just buy whatever you see that you like. Instead, I want you to go in there informed because we don't want this to be one huge headache for you. I got a few things that I want you to think about so that you know what you're getting into before you go. Are you ready? The first thing I want to tell you is one of the worst mistakes that we can make, and that's going to the fish store and just seeing what they have and buying what you like. This leads to one of the most common mistakes that we've all made, which is buying fish on impulse. Something catches your eye and you can't think of anything but that fish. I've done this just a few weeks ago. We went up to our favorite fish store to buy fish for our nano tanks, and I saw two different kinds of fish that I liked, and what did I do? I bought both of them. I bought Endler's live bears and pea puffers. Now, before you freak out and call me a hypocrite, let me explain. Lisa and I have over 20 tanks, and we had more than 2 tanks that didn't have any fish in them, so there wasn't an issue finding somewhere to put these fish. But what I should have done was just picked one type of fish and stuck with that one. But no, I had to have both. So yes, even after almost 30 years of keeping these glass boxes full of water, controlling my impulses is something I still struggle with. So anyway, the best way to control this is to know what you want before ever even going to the fish store. And let me give you one other piece of advice that I don't know I've ever talked about on this channel. I know how crazy this sounds. You just have to trust me. If you make the decision you want to get pea puffers and you get your tank all set up and ready to go, everything's good and you can't wait, you go to the fish store only to find out they don't have any, don't just say, well, I guess I'll just get those other fish instead. But John, isn't that exactly what you just said you did? No, I went to the fish store to get pea puffers and I did get pea puffers, but I also happened to pick up some Endlers too. This could still turn out to be a huge mistake like we've established, but I do have a plan. Do as I say, not as I do. If you go to get pea puffers and you settle for something else, what's going to happen? Yeah, you're going to love the new fish, but they're not pea puffers, and you still want pea puffers. I just think it's fun to say pea puffers. So the next time you go to the store and they do have pea puffers, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, I need to pick these up now and just figure out what to do with them. If I don't get them, they'll sell out and I'll never get them. I have a story from my childhood and young adulthood that is very similar to this. When I was young, from the time I was like 16, I was obsessed with Mustangs. Not the animal, although those are cool too. I'm talking about the car. A white Fox body Mustang GT, just like Rob Van Winkle had, except mine wouldn't have been a convertible because I don't need to put the top down so my hair can blow. You got to admit, that's a beautiful car. When I was like 17, I was driving my 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle, which is the very first car that I ever had. I loved that car. I was driving along and I wasn't paying attention. I was probably turning up the volume because Color Me Bad came on or something, I don't know. But I wasn't paying attention and I rear-ended the car in front of me. I don't know if you're familiar with Volkswagen Bugs, but the engine is in the back of those cars and the front end is just wide open. So when I rear-ended the Ford F-150 pickup truck, the car just crumbled. It was totaled. So obviously I had to get another car because the Bug was totaled. When I went out to get that other car, did I get the Mustang GT that I was dreaming of? No. Why? I have no idea. But instead of buying the Mustang, I got a Toyota pickup truck, the small one. Today they would be called Tacomas, but back then they were just Toyota pickup trucks. And I got the little one. It wasn't even four-wheel drive. So the truck was great for, I don't know, about 6 months. I mean, it got me where I needed to go and it was reliable and it was great and all that kind of stuff. But after a while, I started seeing Mustangs again. A couple of my friends had Fox bodies and the exhaust sounded so cool and I was so jealous. And after about a year and a half of having that little Toyota pickup truck, I got antsy and I needed to get something else. Did I go to buy that Mustang, just make the right decision and do what I always wanted to do? No. I went to the Mitsubishi dealership and bought a 1991 Mitsubishi Eclipse. I can't even explain why I did that. It was a great car, but it wasn't a Mustang. Fast forward another 2 years, and I traded in that Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I finally got my 91 white Mustang GT Fox body. I still call it a Fox body. You don't have to call it that, but just like Vanilla Ice's car, but not the convertible. So how does this apply to the topic of the day? Well, it's all about impulse control. When I wrecked my 71 Bug, I had to go and get something else. I was dreaming about a Mustang GT, but for some reason, something else caught my eye and I went that direction instead. On impulse, I just made a decision and just did it. And of course, I was a teenager. I wasn't putting any money down on these vehicles. So 2 years later, or whenever it was, when I went to trade it in again, not for a Mustang, still, I was way upside down in my loan. I owed more than what the car was worth. So when I traded it in, I ended up having to put the difference on the new loan for the Mitsubishi Eclipse, which was a horrible thing to do. But again, I was a teenager, do as I say, not as I do. And then a year and a half, 2 years later, whatever, after that, when I traded it in and got the Mustang, the same thing happened. I owed more money on the Eclipse than what I got for it in trade-in. So I ended up financing like $7,000 more than what I paid for the Mustang. And my interest rate was absolutely through the roof because I was borrowing more than what the car was worth. It was a total nightmare. If I had just gone with my gut, if I had just made the decision, then I'm going to get the Mustang now. I'm not going to let these other things attract my attention. I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. I would have probably saved like $10,000 in the end. But I was young and very stupid. I mean, listen, I've never claimed to be a smart guy. And we're also talking about 30 years ago? I mean, I was really dumb back then. So if you have your heart set on a particular fish, like I had my heart set on that Mustang, don't go to the fish store, find out that they don't have it and be like, okay, well, let me find something else. No, do the right thing, walk away, and then go to another store or come back to this one when they have the fish that you're looking for, because trust me, you're going to buy something else that you don't want, and you're going to end up still wanting the fish that you originally went in there to get. And this is how people end up with 35 aquariums in their basement. It turns into a huge problem. Go with your gut. I know it's hard, but if they don't have the fish you're looking for, just turn around and walk away. So I think I've beaten you up enough over this. Make a plan and stick to that plan. Do not deviate from that plan. It just never works out well in the end. But John, how do I find out what fish I want? How do I do my research? If I can't just go to the store and just pick out what I want, how do I know? Well, it's easier than you think. There's a few ways to do this. The easiest and the one that takes the least amount of effort is just start looking around online. We've done a ton of videos on this channel, like top 10 fish for 5-gallon, 10-gallon, 20-gallon, and so on. Plus, there's a lot of other channels out there like Primetime Aquatics that have done a bunch of these too. Another way you can do this research, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but go to an aquarium live stream and ask the host. How do you find an aquarium live stream? Well, first, climb out of the rock that you're living under, go to YouTube and type in aquarium live stream. Now, you might end up finding one of those 24-hour live streams at a public aquarium. Those are really cool, but I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about live streams like we do every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on this channel, where the host is talking about aquariums and answering aquarium-related questions from the live chat. Trust me, there is practically a live stream every hour of every single day. Somebody is out there streaming, I promise you. I mean, listen, Chattanooga Ed is on like 12 streams a week. Now, I gotta be honest, this question drives me crazy when I'm doing my live stream because I answer it the same way every single time, and I just don't like being repetitive. I'm not trying to scare you. Feel free to ask that question, what fish should I get for what sized aquarium? Ask us in our live stream. It's totally fine. Believe me, I hate that question less than the ones that are, how many can I put in this? How many of this can I put in that? I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm getting to be an old man, but that question just drives me crazy. So you look around online and you find a fish that catches your eye. You find out that that fish needs to be put in a 20-gallon or larger, and you have a 29-gallon, so you're all good there. You see that the fish doesn't require crazy water parameters and should be good in your water, and there'll be a good mix with the fish you have or the other fish you found that you like. You're all set. Now, if you're someone that has good control of your impulses, you can go to the pet store and see if they have whatever you picked. But if you're like me and you're like, I like that, I must have that, you might want to call the store first, or maybe send them an email or a Facebook message or something. This way you aren't tempted to buy that Eclipse when what you really want is the Mustang. So much of the frustrations that fish keepers deal with are brought on by themselves because of a lack of impulse control. Now, this is not the first time I've talked about this on this channel. I've got several videos on this because I think it's an extremely important topic. So many fish keepers end up getting buried in aquariums. This is how people end up having 35 aquariums, because they see something, they have to have it, and they can't control themselves to stop themselves from buying that. I am certainly one of those people, so I'm not throwing stones, trust me. I have fallen victim to that same trap too. And when you get to that point where your fish tanks are like a job, it can become a real problem, and you're more stressed than you are enjoying the hobby. There's been many times where Lisa and I have had the discussion, you know, if we just cut back to like 3 tanks, life would be so much different. But then 2 minutes later, during the same conversation, we're saying to each other, remember when we had 127 tanks in our garage and we were breeding fish and we both had full-time jobs and it was so much, wasn't that awesome? I don't know. I mean, it's really, really difficult because we've had good times with only a few tanks. We've had great times with a bunch of tanks. We have 20 now. It's under control. It's all good, but it's a lot. And the reason why we have so many is because we too have a hard time controlling our impulses. Impulse control has killed a lot of fish keepers, killed the hobby. It hasn't killed fish keepers that I know of, but it's killed the hobby for fish keepers, and it's also killed a lot of fish. So keep that in mind too. Control yourself. Don't just go buy whatever you see that you like. Don't be like me, and you'll enjoy this hobby so much more. Anyway, I could keep rambling, but I'm not going to. I've had a lot of fun with this video. I've got to go and work on my pea puffer tank. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.